Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
I am the hammer. I am the sword in his hand. I am the gauntlet about his fist. I am the bane of his foes and the woes of the treacherous. I am the end.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me once again are my partners in crime, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Ford, and Jason Craze from Slow Fuse Gaming. What's up, guys?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Yo, what's happening, everybody?
Hey, gang.
So, I don't know about y'all, but I got 99 problems. 8th edition ain't one.
I've got 99 problems. You are all fucking my problems, every single one of you.
I feel that all the way over here.
Cold as ice.
If I had to sit down and think about it, I don't believe I actually have 99 problems.
I might have 3 problems.
Literally don't think about it. Especially don't make a list, because you'd be amazed at how much paper you can waste trying to figure out what your problems are.
I'll be honest. I would throw a considerable dollar per month amount at never stubbing my toes ever again. That is a real issue for me.
I no longer feel in my toes because of how often I've stubbed them and deadened the nerves in them.
Ooh, savage. I very rarely do I ever stub my toe. So we now know that is going to be the Coast Commanders. That is going to be in it.
The whole I don't give a fuck about small things disorder that we have?
Absolutely.
My toes are chief among things I don't give a fuck about for some reason.
They're small. If you look at each one individually, they're small.
It's very funny that Rob brought up stubbing a toe as a major problem, because I have arthritis in my big toes, just my big toes, from playing hockey for so long. And I swear to God, if I stub my toe, I literally pass out for 2 days.
The mass amount of pain just takes over. Blackout.
I have gotten very good at maneuvering in small spaces, let me tell you.
God, I need to learn that game. I need to go up to the mountain that you learned that at, because the other day I was vacuuming because Monet was like, yo, you should vacuum. And somehow I managed to run my bare toe over on my left foot with the little, the little sweeper as it's spinning rapidly. It literally just broke half my toenail off.
Dude, I'm going to tell you something. Do not ever get a house where you have to maintain a yard.
Oh,
deal.
Problem. I promise you.
Have you seen me?
I can see where you're going with this.
Because if you run over your toe with a vacuum cleaner, we are going to have a lot of 911 calls if you have to operate a lawnmower, my friend.
Just have Monet watch you and type in 911 and have her hover her finger over the one while you're
the whole time.
Going.
No, Kenny, I'm going to go on the other end of the spectrum. I want you to have a yard because you live in California. And if you have a yard that you have to keep up, you, sir, are a millionaire.
Yeah, that's true. What? Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I'm with you. And guess what? Millionaires can have their toes replaced, homie.
Yeah.
With a robot foot.
The giant.
I'm first in line for the robot arms. Like I've said it a million times. I'll get a robot too.
How do we get on these tangents? Oh my gosh. So hey, 8th edition's out. But before we get to that, let's talk about some new releases for this week. So you guys remember that crazy looking crane that was in that ginormous display that they put together? It was like the oil tanker from the oil.
You played those guys, right?
What's that? No. It was Games Workshop put out this diorama board where it was I have no
idea what you're talking about. I thought you were talking about either the team we played at Adepticon, or I thought you were talking about Transformers.
Yeah, I was I'm pretty sure Mark Wahlberg just did a movie where he was on an oil platform. Is that what Robbie B is saying?
No, GW put this dope ass diorama together where it was all of the Armageddon terrain, the Shadow Wars, the Sector Mechanicus stuff, and they stacked it all together, and they had landing pads and had all these tanks, and at the top they had this crane, and they tried to cover it up and kind of not talk about it in the article, but it turns out that they're actually putting that out as a release next week. It's called the Galvanic Servo Haulers. Galvanic
has been recycled into this.
Mm-hmm.
galvanic magnavents, and now galvanic servo harness
haulers.
Oh my God, GW.
So it comes with a crane and 2 little hauler thingies, which are like little mini cranes.
So Robbie B, I have a question. I don't want to jump down headfirst this 8th edition rabbit hole quite yet, but I have a question. They are on the eve, as per Robbie B exclusive. Come in here live first. He believes that GW is going to release 8th edition, as per the webcast, very soon, sooner than later. But GW, what do you think? I just
want to summarize what you just said. You said Robbie B exclusive, come in here.
That's literally.
Please continue.
Yeah. Now that Kenny has pointed out facts, Robbie B is coming here to let everyone know that he believes in May the 8th edition could be in our hands or pre-order. So I guess my question is, Robbie B, are these new terrain kits that GW is putting out now for 40K, do you think they're going to make their way into some ridiculous rules going into 8th edition? Because we really don't see that in Age of Sigmar.
Well, there's rules for terrain in Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, but they don't have kits like this, right?
No, there are kits, but they don't have anything super crazy like this. Remember, they said there's going to be rules for everything. There's rules for currently. So, I mean, that's a good precedent. Not sure what format or delivery. That's obviously something they need to figure out. But, that was another reason, and we'll talk about that. One of the reasons that I think 40K is going to drop sooner than later is that they have these things called green dates for their game store employees, the GW corporate stores, where they're like, hey, you can't take days off on these dates. 2 of those dates are in May, 6th and the 13th. So, and then nothing else for the rest of the month except for like the 27th, which is Memorial Day weekend, obviously. So it's going to be a big weekend. Then there's a couple dates in June, but more dates in July. So there's a couple other reasons, and I can't really get into right now, about some different things, about things that are planned at those stores on specific ranges of dates. But the way it's looking, and also you got to remember from a web content perspective, it's literally my job, what I do every day. Me and my team put out a lot of articles. You might know this, but putting out that much content, even putting out one article like GW does with 2,000, 3,000 words in it, with a bunch of images that you have to go and get, you have to crop down, you have to. And remember, they're doing all this. They're not doing this in the morning. They're doing all this ahead of time. Like, this stuff's already done. So you have to get all this content created. You have to get it queued up. You have to get a drip content release cycle ready to go. Like, there's only so much they can talk about, right? There's only so much buffer releases, because if they put out new rules for anything, like they can't put out any 40K codex, they can't put out a new 40K faction, they can't put out anything, because nobody would buy it. They'll be like, why are we going to buy this when 8th edition's coming? So the only thing realistically they can put out is terrain, or Age of Sigmar Dwarfs, or another Age of Sigmar faction, or a mini game, or something like that. But there's a finite amount of that before either people get tired of too much Age of Sigmar, or they just run out of content, both product and web content related. So I feel like a 2-week to 3-week arrival of 40K is imminent. They've made some statements like, hey, it'll be out this year, air quotes. Keep in mind too that this year, air quotes, could mean by the end of May, because that is actually the end of their fiscal year. Their 2017 year actually starts June 1st. So there's a couple of things to keep in mind. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just saying I know a couple of things here and there that are starting to point in that direction. It would not surprise me whatsoever if we saw
little crime scene investigation, CSI,
correct,
Law and Order, Ice-T, Robbie B.
Ice-T, Robbie B.
I've never seen Rob and Ice-T in the same room before.
It's true. I asked him for an autograph once. He denied me. He said I was going to sell it on eBay. It was very sad.
Is that a real story?
Might be.
Because if y'all didn't know this about Robbie B, he is a gangster. Robbie B has been in jail.
I have.
Robbie B is 40 and he has stories for days.
I one time thought Busta Rhymes was the pizza boy.
That's so offensive.
I honestly, there's a reason for that. Well,
Busta Rhymes was my hero in the 90s.
He looked, the way he was dressed, he looked like the pizza delivery guy, and I regret nothing. Obviously, I knew I had made a mistake.
Yeah,
true story.
The Flipmo Squad almost
was about to get mad.
Candy ass.
Yeah, it was about to get mad dangerous.
Man, this pizza delivery guy has a lot of helpers.
Yeah.
Why does he need so many helpers?
They're not helpers. It's the Flipmo Squad.
Yeah.
Well, do you expect to see Busta Rhymes at a paintball field? Like, come on.
No, I wouldn't.
Do you expect to see somebody wearing a big red poofy jacket and a red poofy hat delivering your pizza when you ordered a pizza from a place that you would expect that a person to be wearing that attire?
All right,
hey man,
you make a compelling point. Okay.
You make it seem like he showed up to the party dressed as the pizza guy as a ploy. Got it. I can now understand where this pizza guy reference came from.
No, I'm not an idiot. I came over the hill and I was looking for my pizza. I was like, hey man, you got my pizza? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, you don't have my pizza. Come to find out you have 13 dudes who's about to fuck me up. All right, got it. Can I buy y'all pizza?
My whole entire unit is dangerous.
Yo.
Anyways, so yeah, I got a few stories. Anyhow, what were we talking about? 40K. I think May. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before. But that's just what I'm going with. So then we got a new set of bases coming out. Sector Mechanicus industrial bases. Let's see. There looks to be 265 mil rounds, 10 40 mil rounds, 40 32 mil rounds, some extra pieces like lights, vents, computer terminals, etc., etc. So if you want to, just the perfect thing to spruce up your Shadow War Armageddon experience. And what else is coming out this week? Oh, and more kits as well. We've got the White Dwarf, which I imagine if you have a subscription, don't hold your breath on that one. You might want to pick it up in stores. The new 40 Years of White Dwarf for $30. Kardron Overlord's Etheric Navigator, which might be a must-have for most players. The Lord Magnac Barak Nar, which you might know him from Dune. He is $40. And the Arcanaut Ironclad for $115. For Sector Mechanicus, we've got the rest of those terrain pieces, the Prometheum Forge, Ferrotonic Incinerator, and that looks to be it for next week's releases. So those are all.
You have a Ferrotonic Incinerator somewhere in your Beats lab?
Dude, I can't talk about it near as much as the galvanic reactor because people just start to glaze over. They can't imagine being in the presence of somebody as cool as I am. So I have to tone things back.
You keep it right next to your galvanic magna vent.
Oh yeah.
Oh, James brings up an interesting point. He said it's kind of like seeing Drake in an Applebee's in Virginia. So I was pretty sure that was Drake. In my defense, I didn't actually communicate with Drake or the wannabe Drake, and I may have also been drinking. But this was 100% Busta Rhymes for sure.
So this one
I thought was the Pizza Boy. Anyways,
damn dog.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah.
So that being said, we got the 40K rules breakdown, and I think, man, we went hard in the paint over the webcast. Did y'all hear what the dreadnoughts are going to be? The stat line for the dreadnoughts?
Did we ever?
Is that where we're at now? Are we getting ready to do this?
I was going to say, are the pleasantries over that now that we know what's coming up next week? Because I know what's coming up right now. 8th edition potential breakdown.
Okay, before we talk about it, I got a couple things I need to bring up, and then let's do a commercial break. So then way we can just go nonstop raw dog it. So Broadside Bash, San Diego, this weekend. I'll be there. Me and my buddy Michael are rolling out. I'm going to be promoting a Renegade Guard Army. This potentially is the last major event of 8th edition at Kingdom Con here in San Diego. When you're running some Renegade Guards, some Caesar Vrax style, Guard love. This is a highly converted Guard Army by my man, Alan Marshall. This all painted, all converted by him. It's very fresh. It's got a lot of models. I'm going to be playing that with an Alpha Legion CAD. It's going to be fresh. This army will be for sale here really soon. Pictures going to be released. We're going to do some Facebook Live this weekend. If you're going to be local to the San Diego area, definitely swing by Kingdom Con, check out the Broadside Bash. These guys are known for amazing terrain. They're going to be playing Adepticon missions. They just announced that. There's going to be appearance scores and sponsorship scores. It's going to be a blast.
They're playing the Adepticon singles missions?
That's what they said.
I like that. I really enjoyed those missions.
Yeah, they said that they were going to change it up, so I'm into that. That was really refreshing at Adepticon to play those missions. I'm stoked. I'm playing the Super Zombie Squad that jumps around the table a billion inches that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Ghost Storm and Soul Switching 50 zombies. It's going to be hilarious. But of course, I got Mauler Fiends because of my kindred spirit. Obviously, I could take more artillery, but you know me. I need a couple Mauler Fiends in my life.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait to see, because I know you're going to be coming in hot with Facebook Live. I can't wait to see how this army plays and to hear the stories of all its glory, because you're definitely going to be catching some people slipping.
Yeah, people
thinking that those zombies are just a screen for the wyverns.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden on turn one, they go 40 inches and they're screening your wyverns. But let's just do it. Let's just bang down a quick commercial break. Let's get it out of the way. We got a lot of sponsors to talk about. Big news, graveyard shift on the horizon by the legendary Mike Haspil, who couldn't be here with us tonight. He's got all sorts of big news that he wants to talk about, signings, everything. The book is coming out soon. Let's do a quick commercial break, guys.
Dear veterans, quickly make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at dicehead.com have rewarded us all with an extra 6% discount on all dicehead.com merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
elricshobbies.com is your exclusive portal to upgrading your hobby. When you sign up at thelongwar.net, you gain an instant promotional discount good for 10% off at Elric's Hobbies. elricshobbies.com.
Dear veterans, quickly make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at secretweaponsminiatures.com have rewarded us all with an extra 10% discount on all Secret Weapon Miniatures merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
All right, we're back. Rob, lead us in this discussion. Flip Mode Squad.
Oh, boy. I'm never going to live that one down. Whew. Well, let's see what we can do here. So you may have seen today that they put out the weapon profiles for some of the weapons. And I think it's great. So far, so good. Damage is the big change. They said there's no more D, but as you're going to see, there's a weapon here that kind of functions like D, which I think is pretty nifty. So first up, Flamer 8-inch range, which is about the length of the Flamer template from back in the day. By I say back in the day, I mean last week.
Length and girth.
Length and mostly girth. I mean, it might be off plus or minus a half an inch, but what's a half an inch?
Yo, 1 more inch don't fit. That's the fact.
True story.
It auto hits and it does D6 hits, strength 4. It does 1 damage. Everything's on a damage profile now. The bolt gun is 24-inch rapid fire 1.
So, Robbie B, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like with the Flamer, like it's literally Wall of Death that we've already been using. We are they are just extending that Wall of Death instead of just during the Overwatch. That is just the basic weapon profile. If you are within its range, you are just going to do X amount of wounds. And Kenny actually made a great point during the webcast of saying that for anybody who thinks that's worse or, better, anything, like it is a new mechanic that is really cool. You're going to be doing more wounds, consistent wounds, which is key.
Average, higher average damage.
Mm-hmm. Right. So like, and what I didn't even think of is like, what is a Flamer template in 7th edition, 6th edition, every other edition? What does it do against 5 Flamer templates? What do they do against 1 model? You do 5 ball
pistol shots.
Yeah. Right. That's literally 5 potential wounds, but now you're saying, you're within 8 inches and I have 5 Flamers. Now I do 5,
15
6,
15 hits.
Yeah. I mean, it's huge, major difference.
But against the unit of 10 guys, it might be less, but you're maintaining a higher average damage. It's very cool. It eliminates the need to pull out templates and slow the game down constantly. Let me hold this template over. I think I got 4 guys, maybe 5. Oh, wait, I think it's only 3. Oh, let me try. Let me literally get rid of that.
Is that a partial? Is that a nut? Well, I guess that doesn't pertain as much anymore.
That used to be a thing, though, but they got rid of that because it slowed the game down. Now they're getting rid of templates because it slows the game down.
It is definitely the next level of cutting the fat in the 40K list universe. Doing that is going to net save you. If you have flamer templates, if you have blast templates, it's going to net save you 7 minutes every game that you play, 6 minutes every game you play.
Let me say this too. So at 8 inches, you're doing your maximum flavor damage. Before, you had to be like 2 inches away to do your maximum flavor damage. Remember?
Very true. And there was some like, oh, well, I deep struck this unit of flamers. I had to get this unit of flamers out. I've only got 3 guys because I have to do this, cram everybody into such a small space where the flamer template, I get 3 guys maxed out, but then the 2 guys chilling out in the back, I can't go over my own unit's base. So I'm really only,
you're also putting your flamers in the front. The first casualty is a die. So you lose your weapons. Like it's just a better mechanic.
Makes so much sense.
I agree. The bolt gun is pretty much standard, 24-inch range, rapid fire 1, strength 4, damage 1. So some people were disappointed, like there's no AP modifier or anything like that. But again, there could be chapter tactics out there. It could be special rules to convey rends like there is in the new Caradon Overlord's book. So we just don't know. There could be things that give you additional shots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we start throwing out, -1, if they follow anything that Age of Sigmar, -1 rend is a big fucking deal. Like let's not oversell this or undersell this. Okay,
you don't want 24 bolters within 12 inches, 24 bolter shots within 12 inches. Just be like -1 rend.
-1 rend. Yeah, that is like it is not the same thing, guys. Like it's 2-up saves. We truly believe are going to be harder to come by than what they are right now. So you don't want Space Marines, literally dying by the droves to rapid firing bolters. Like that's not the outcome you want. So. Continue. And I know we're talking about weapon profiles and for everything else, just to make sure if you've been living under a rock or anything else, dreadnoughts have toughness value. They're toughness 7, 8 wounds.
So this makes a lot of sense in some regard. Then the last cannon, 48-inch range. I think the bolt gun, I just want to add the bolt gun as a base weapon. I like the stat line. This is a great place to start and allow for augments and not already start at a ridiculous thing and then go even higher and start to blow it right off the bat. Because that's definitely the life cycle of a game is you got to sell stuff, you got to add things, you got to add mechanics, you got to keep it interesting. It bloats out, reset, and we're already seeing that with like X-Wing.
And if a bolt gun is going to go ahead and come in stock at -1, where do you leave a heavy bolter and assault cannon? Like literally, there has to be a progression here. So, you can't get everything you want into this weapon.
And it gives things like, for instance, bolter drill, which may be an additional Ren mechanic or perhaps an additional shot mechanic, places to go and a great platform to work from. So last cannon, 48-inch range, heavy 1, strength 9, AP -3, does D6 damage, which is very similar to what we saw with the D weapon.
It's stronger than a D weapon.
Mm-hmm.
On average, it's stronger than a D weapon. Higher damage.
A couple things I want to go here. We just did a battle report showcasing 7th edition Dreadnought versus 8th edition Dreadnought, this and this. I called this yesterday. Robbie B and I were talking. We were like, what do we think is going to happen? What do we think about this? I think a weapon that is a lance, strength 8 AP 2, I feel like that's going to be a -3 rend. I feel like that's where we're at in the game. And sure as shit, come up today, it's -3 rend. So that means a Space Marine, if they have a 3-up armor save for everybody, so they're tracking to understand what that means. That means you go from a 3-up, a Space Marine will get a 6-up save against a last cannon wound.
Which is improved over
which is cool.
Which is they didn't have a save before. But that's what I'm talking about, higher average damage coming through. A Terminator with a 2-up save, if he still has a 2-up save, still is a 5-up save. If he does, like, listen, or someone with the artificer armor. But if they fail that save, that's D6 wounds, bro. It's
D6 wounds.
Also high average damage, man.
So we're looking at like, well, you know, a last cannon in 7th edition only ever could do 1 wound. 1 wound. In 8th edition, it has the potential to do 6 wounds. 6 times better in the wound category. So what do you think that means for anybody else who actually comes with a wound stat line? They are literally going to be doubled or tripled, I believe. I believe characters, Call is going to be coming in with 10 or 11, 12 wounds. Damasherons are going to have 18 wounds. You know, like this shit is going to be real, and I can't wait for it.
I think Captain Chapter Masters will be 6 wound characters. You know, like it's so like a single last cannon has to get lucky against a lot of these things.
Absolutely.
Well, they're according to this entry here, you know, they're saying stuff like it can blast chunks off large vehicles and monsters and kill light vehicles and characters in a single hit. But, you know, against a guardsman or an orc, it's just like whatever. It just vapes them, you know, for the most part.
Which means that you're wasting your D6 wounds on shooting infantry. It's highly ineffective.
And I would like to say that this is a cool difference because I am still big on, I want to play 40K. I do not want to play Age of Sigmar. I still want there to be a difference, if that makes sense, right? I love a lot of the mechanics of Age of Sigmar, so I would like to see some of those ported over. But at the end of the day, I want there to be a very big difference between the 2 games. And case in point, we have one. Right, Robbie B? Like, as of right now, what they're saying is that if a weapon does D6 wounds, and it does 6, if there are 1 wound models in Age of Sigmar, if that happens, you lose 6 1 wound models. But in 40K, they're saying that you just lose 1 model. If that model had up to 6 wounds, then those would be gone. Yeah,
it didn't specifically go into it, but it basically alludes to the fact that everything is allocated like per model. It from what the context it's saying, that's what it seems like to me. Not spills through and does more damage to the squad, which is what we saw with like D weapons and stuff.
Yeah, like, if you think about it, Rob. So like last cannon shoots. If you shoot a last cannon at a unit of 5 Space Marines, it does less damage than it used to. Straight up, because now they have a save, right? They lose a guy if they fail it. You do it against a Dreadnought, as long as you hit. And then you roll a 2 to follow it up. You are guaranteed practically to do more damage to that Dreadnought than you normally would have done. Because before it would have been like, need to roll a 3 to hit. Okay, strike 9. Okay, 9, 10, 11, 12. Need to roll a 3 to glance. Then nothing happens. I need to roll a 4 to pen to get that 13. Cool, I got that 13. He fails his cover save if he has one. Now I need to roll in this insane chart that I need to roll 5 or 6 on to make it matter. Okay, it didn't matter. Cool. Now you're saying, roll 3 to hit, roll 2 to wound. Oh, you didn't roll a 6? Let me just throw this dice in the air. Oh, I rolled a 3. I did 3 whole points or 3 wounds. That's more average damage than ever before against a vehicle. Less average damage against a troop.
That's probably another thing to take in mind too. Is it doesn't seem like there's going to be an armor penetration table anymore, or damage result table. You know, which is great. The damage result is going to actually be built into the profile of the vehicle or the monster.
Yeah, the decreasing profile as the unit takes damage.
Which they alluded to. They're like, hey, you know, he'll get lower weapon skill, lower ballistic skill, lower movement. Basically having the snap fire to be effective, if at all, at that point. But he's still alive, you know, so that's kind of cool. Nobody likes to put their stuff back in the box, right? So I'm definitely down with that. So obviously the flamer is going to be pretty good. Squads that can have multiple of them, which we know there's at least several. In power armor, they can get multiples, but probably, you know, a lot of people are talking about the Burner Boys, which they kind of allude to in their post. So twice they mentioned the orc specifically. So I think they're trying to address a lot of players, a lot of orc players out there, you know, feel badsies about the current state of affairs in the orc tactical playbook. Feel bad for those folks.
Yo, I believe that 2 armies that are going to get a huge boost in 8th edition are orcs and nids. I think it's a thing. I think it's real life, and get ready for it.
Well, we'll pretty much know as soon as they start going into the assault mechanic, which they seem to kind of lollygag away from the weapon profile thing, they're saying that when you charge, you get to go first, EM period. And the only way to interrupt that so far that they've alluded to is the command points, which you can spend 1 per phase. And they basically said you can interrupt that and activate one of your units to swing an assault before the army does. So even if you get rolled up on, you still have a chance to activate your hard hitters and try to, rip the teeth out of the enemy's assault bite.
I like that. I think that, I mean, with all these new unit types and wounds and et cetera and armor saves, like right out the gate, man, or a truck. Like we've talked about, we did a whole podcast on forget armor, let's do toughness. When our truck is like toughness 6 or even toughness 5. Fuck, I even said toughness 5 in our example. When our truck has 6 wounds, 4 up save, and it's toughness 5. It is phenomenally useful right now. Like it's insanely usable. It's very usable. And if orcs themselves no longer have to worry about like, I always swing last no matter what, and they can get some charges off and go first instantaneously. Orcs become playable.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't think, though, Kenny, now that I see that an Armor 12 Dreadnought is down to be toughness 7 with 8 wounds, I can definitely see trucks being toughness 6. Basically, all transports being toughness 6. I think the biggest difference is going to be wounds. Maybe a truck only has.
I only said because open topped and it's armor 10 in the game. I was saying like because it's open top, which is an assault vehicle, it might be T5 6 wounds.
Mm-hmm.
But like if it's toughness 6, I'd be more power to it. I would play a toughness 5 or truck right now and have success with it.
Absolutely. And then let's think about this too, is like if that happens, there is no vehicle damage table anymore. There's no this shaken, stunned, any of that shit. It doesn't matter, right? Like you lose wounds, you will have less effectiveness. Every unit has that, right? So I believe that models not getting one-shotted, not getting this and this. I mean, I cannot wait to see what Land Raiders do. And for everybody, can we talk for a second, Robbie B, if that's okay, but about the monkey in the room, about everybody being salty that their fucking Land Raider is going to get boltered to death? Like, dog, what is your Land Raider doing for you in 7th edition? Anybody?
It's getting grabbed.
Nothing. Dying.
It is literally, don't even put it on the table. Just like, hey, I've got a Land Raider in my list. I'm just not going to deploy. Is that okay? Absolutely. I'm with that. I will just say that my Centurions will not shoot turn 1 if you don't put your Land Raider out. I mean, it's like unreal. So you're telling me now, I believe though, because we talk about toughness value, as Kenny alluded to in the webcast, is that toughness value does not necessarily mean toughness of the skin. We're talking about how dense, how hard something is, how tough it is, right? So ceramite plating, Plaz steel is going to be tough as shit.
The armor save is the armor.
Absolutely. That is what you're getting. And I believe a Land Raider is going to have a 2-up save. And I believe that it is going to be very, very tough. Your bolters and las guns or whatever, it's going to be toughness 9 or 10, but it doesn't matter. You're still going to be able to wound it on a 6, but you're going to need 1 billion.
We actually mapped it out. It would take roughly 1,000 bolter shots.
Right? To like bang one to bang one down. Like, come on.
Interact with the Land Raider.
So you're telling me, like, yes, you have to get past the pill to swallow of a bolter potentially wounding your, Land Raider, versus your Land Raider actually has play in 8th edition versus it hasn't in, I'll go as far to say as there wasn't any play in 6th edition.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a big thing is they're saying everything's gonna have toughness, everything will be able to wound everything, things are gonna fucking die. Like right now, they just said last cannon, they just broke the profile down for a last cannon. Shooting a last cannon at a vehicle, it's stronger than D on average. Hit on a 3, wound on a 2, D6 whole points, quote unquote. That's more. I mean, that's more than D does right now, unless D rolls a 6.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I like where we're going with this. Some of the other changes they were talking about, and I know Juice will like this. We talked about this earlier, but to better distinguish between different units. For example, Eldar would run faster than Guardsmen, and Hormagaunts will run faster than both.
What they have went back to their roots. They went back to second edition. And was like, what did we do? Matter of fact, Jason, they called Jason up. I don't know if he wants me to tell everybody, but they're like, yo, Jason, do me a favor. What was your favorite part of like second edition, And obviously Jason was like, yo, I like movement characteristics for different units. Why the shit does my orc and my space marine move as fast as my Hormagaunts or my Damasheron that has 1 billion feet longer legs? So thank you, Jason, for that. I appreciate it.
Man, I have been trying. I've been trying to get through to these people. It just goes without saying. If you're going to have these different models, don't make them all freaking. It's like everything's in different shades of gray in Warhammer right now in 7th edition, as opposed to having the color that a game like this really needs to have. Let a unit shine and do what it's supposed to do. Let it bring some of that backstory to the table for immersion. Some people don't care. Some people just want to stomp their opponent's face. That's fine. Then give them units that have variants, so it doesn't feel like everything slogs 6 inches, everything goes 4 inches, everything does this, now I do this. Yeah, add flavor back to the game. I think it's the best thing they could focus on is bringing units in and giving them, a little bit of sprinkling of variation to them, and let the game run with it. Because people will take that, make lists that have all sorts of crazy flavor to it. We'll see cool stuff. Yeah, some of it'll be OP. That's the way balance works. It comes out, it goes in a tilted direction, and then they bring it back through FAQs and whatever else they have to do. That's just game development at this point, especially in a game that's so large as this. So I'm all for it.
That's a great point, because what is the number one thing that we've seen over the last couple books, especially with Space Wolves, with Grey Knights, other codexes where literally it's just generic. They lost their gold tooth necklaces. They lost their banners. They lost their things that made
they just
them.
became Space Marines with bolters and bolt pistols, like in close combat weapons. Like,
they became Space Marines with the Great Wolf detachment.
Yeah. Nobody even takes them. Like we said, over the last year or so, 40K looks a lot like fantasy. People stopped until vehicles were free. People don't play them. People just played dudes because vehicles sucked and this sucked. And GW's whole flowchart said that Wraith Knights are good, not wounds with feel no pain and saves. And so there was nothing that made 40K special anymore. Like, where are the tanks? Where's the awesome, cool shit that's effective? It's going to be refreshing to see that, like someone asked earlier, is IG going to suck? Nope. Not if you can take, the Siege of Rax army I'm playing right now, which has a horde of zombies in it, and it's pretty sub-optimized as far as tanks goes. I'm counting it out right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 12 tanks. 12,
wow.
12 tanks.
12 tanks. To put that in perspective, if on average they get 6 to 8 wounds, Lemon Russ is definitely going to be topping more of the 12 wounds, I would think. But so you have 10, 12 tanks. You're talking you have 40 plus wounds. Excuse me, more than that.
60.
100 plus wounds. Lemon Russes. What am I thinking? I'm sorry. Like 80 to 100 wounds.
Yeah, it's immediately better. It's immediately more exciting, man. Like,
wow, think about that. So that means we're just speculating here based off facts, right? We're just trying to port it over. If you rock an IG army or Astra Militarum army that has 8 to 12 tanks, to include Lemon Russes and Basilisks and Chimeras and Toraxes, and you also throw down a couple platoon squads, so you have 75 to 100 models, you have a combined total over 200 wounds. That's fresh.
My list right now, I have just under 100 infantry models and 12 vehicles.
You literally have 200 wounds in your army. I love that concept.
That's pretty baller. So obviously, talking about vehicles, I think it needs to be said that they will be using the same profile system as everybody else. So they're saying wounds won't be capped at 10s. So, quote, don't be surprised if you see large vehicles like Land Raiders and Imperial Knights with dozens of wounds. Dozens. Like,
last time I checked, dozens is like in the at least more than 20.
It's 5 to 6.
What else can you ask for?
Get my money back from books I purchased.
True story.
Bump.
shy of that, I'm sorry, I accidentally muted myself. If a dreadnought is toughness 7, what are we gonna say a land raider is? Toughness 10? Is that fair?
Wow.
Toughness 9, 10?
10?
I mean, I believe it's going to be toughness 10. I truly believe that it'll be T9, T10 with 12 wounds and a 2-up save. You are a mobile fortress again. We are 5th edition mobile fortress style. I can't wait. I might try to incorporate some Land Raiders in my NID list.
I think if you compare it to basically a Dreadnought's 12 and that would be 14. So it's hard to make the argument it's higher than 10 because we've never had a higher than 10, but they just said the cap's coming off. So I feel like Imperial Knights are going to be way more than that, like 12 to 14.
Toughness or wounds?
Toughness.
I
don't know.
Gosh, I don't know. I don't think we'll get over 10. I just think 10 will be 10 is the max, 2-up save is the max. And the part that we're going to see go infinite, is going to be wounds. I think that's where the deciding factor is. And I think Kenny's right, where it's said all along, where it's like, if they do see something where it's like a lower toughness value, they'll keep the toughness value the same, but they'll fluctuate the wounds. So
Right.
where, they might all dedicated transports might stay at 6 or something of the sort, but something might be 4 wounds, 5 wounds versus.
You want to hear some fun math?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people are like, oh, you're going to bolter my Land Raider, whatever. Okay, let's just say Land Raider is high enough toughness that a bolter needs a 6. Whatever it is, toughness 1,000. They said everything's going to be able to wound stuff. Okay, so whatever. Okay. If we, based on our prediction, that the armor value of the Land Raider potentially could be a 2 because it's ceramite, blah, blah, blah. If a Land Raider has armor save is a 2-up armor save, 468 bolter shots does 8.6 wounds.
Still not enough to kill it.
And we're saying dozens, they said. So that's at a 2-up save, right? So,
and that's saying it has no built-in ward save, which something that big could easily have a 6-up ward save or, feel no pain.
Maybe ceramite armor is feel no pain. Maybe, but say, so at worst,
or it will not
at
die.
Absolute worst, double that number, 16 wounds. At absolute worst. Basically 500 bolter shots, 470 bolter shots. Worst case scenario might do 16 wounds. If it only has a 3-up save and nothing else protecting it. And it only, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if it has a 2-up save or a 3-up save and some type of 5 fetal pain or some kind of repair roll or whatever it might have, you got 468 bolter shots within range of my Land Raider.
Yeah, and you said 468 just to do 8.8 wounds, right?
Just to actually wound it, to actually successfly remove 8.6 hull points off of a 2-up save.
And that's 400 in that. So you literally need shots. Now you need 922.
All the math's right. Like it's
okay.
468 shots, needing 3s to hit, needing 6 to wounds, and then me needing to roll 1s. Does 8 wounds.
Yeah,
and
but
this thing literally said dozens.
So it's going to have, again, to do double that. If it has 16 wounds, you would need 900 bolter shots. You need to double that.
Even if it was a 3-up save, and it feeling the pain of a 5. So even if you said, okay, it's a 3-up save, so 16 wounds, but then remove a third of them, it's still not enough. Mm-hmm. So you're telling me if you have an army that has 468 bolter shots, and you decided you're going to shoot them on a Land Raider this turn and not even kill it. Word.
Love it.
I would rather you be able to interact with my Land Raider because you know what? A Land Raider becomes useful. If a Land Raider is rolling around and you feel like you should shoot your 20 bolters at the Land Raider instead of at my 5 guys over here, by all means.
Absolutely. And Jason, I'd like to get your input on this from some of the other game systems out there. I just did about a report showing where the interactive rate in 8th edition is at an all-time high versus 7th or any other edition. I showcased a Dark Eldar army that you guys will be able to see very soon interacting with Dreadnoughts. I love the fact that a third to 40% of somebody's force is not invalidated, that they just cannot interact with something. It's like, well, I brought 4 models to the table that can actually interact with your Land Raider, that can actually interact successfully with a Rhino, for example. So wow, that's cool. I hope they don't die. What's the rest of my army going to do till you decide to get out? That's that non-interactive. We're playing chess for turns. In 8th edition, everybody gets to interact with everybody in some form or fashion. There's always a chance to try to strip off a whole point or a wound. Excuse me. How does that stand up versus some of the other games out there?
Well, lately I see a lot of games going in the direction of that everybody can hurt everybody. And I think that that's the best way to be designing games right now, because the exciting thing about miniature games is when we come out with new unit profiles, right? So it's not that we keep coming out with like 8th edition and it allows us to go back and play, Hormagaunts and Termagants from ages past. Yeah, that's fun. But what we always hope is that in the next 6 months, we'll see some new Tyranid units, something we haven't seen before, something that's fun, that keeps me juiced and makes me want to go out and buy new models. And that, of course, is where Games Workshop is focused. They want to create new stuff, have you want to go out and buy new stuff. When you do that in a system where there are certain items that cannot even touch, say, a Land Raider, or they bring a Night Titan and I've got 90% of my army is useless against it. Well, number one, it defines the tactics on the table for you. So your game is not your own. Your game is your opponent's. And he just now, by laying a unit down, has dictated what you're capable of doing. And I don't ever think that's healthy for, one-on-one play, whether it be tournament or casual. But when I have a lowly guardsman who can strip a point off of this big behemoth that you bought, now it starts to change the whole tide of battle, because my tactics become my own again. Yes, I could risk throwing this cheapo unit against your biggest thing to kind of tar pit it for a minute, and I actually might get lucky and do some damage to it. So it might not be a complete waste. So I can make those kind of decisions that move around. Infinity is much like that. Every unit in the game can wound every other unit, but it's not based on comparative rolling systems, right? Every unit profile has a target number that it needs to hit no matter what it is it's shooting at. Now, the opponent that it's shooting at can alter those target numbers. Say if my shooting skill is a 12, you're in cover. Cover strips 3 of my 12 away, so now I need a 9 to hit you. But I know what my target number is very quickly by looking at the unit profile of what I'm shooting, and so then I just roll. But the lowest ballistic skill in the game is 10. So if I roll up against a unit that has crazy camo that gives me -6 and is sitting in cover that gives me -3, I'm at -9 and I needed a 10 to start with, I can still roll a 20-sided die and crit you on a 1 and remove you from the table in Infinity. Legit, the odds are against me to do it, but I can use the tactics presented to me on the table and put that lowly 10 ballistic skill dude out there, and he shoots 4 times a turn, and I get 4 dice to try to roll a 1. And in the crazy way things work, by maneuvering my shot number down to a 1 or 2 or a 3, the only number that hits you also crits you and auto wounds and could possibly remove the biggest model on the table off the table. So again, I think that it's less about what a particular model does. So in the case of GW, what does a guardsman do? I think it's more what you can do with a guardsman model. And if a guardsman unit has the ability to injure anything on the table, however ridiculous the odds are stacked against you, just the fact that it can happen can change the tide of battle in your own mind when progressing through the tactics and the strategy that you want to apply on the tabletop, so that you never walk up to the table and feel like, holy crap, I didn't bring a damn thing that's useful. And you spend the next 2.5, 3 hours being bummed because you got run up against an army that you were dreading. And that shouldn't be the way it is. You should lay your models out on the table and say, wow, my chances are slim, but this is going to be fun.
But I've got a chance.
Yeah, holy shit, I got a scout that just shot your avatar right through the eye and removed him from the table with a crit. I mean, I can remember doing that back in 3rd edition, and it was like those moments became so narrative that even your opponent that hated you for doing it was talking about it for weeks afterwards. Can you imagine I ran my biggest dude right up the table and was going to stomp his captain's face in, and some lowly guardsman shot me right off the table? Got the luckiest dice I've ever seen, that bastard. And then all of a sudden, it's
and then you literally, that guy goes home, repaints this motherfucker. He is now the veteran. He is now, he flaunts him every time that he shows up to the tournament and to the whatever. He's like, you see my new captain? You see him? He was just Joe. Now he's Captain Lord Master Joe.
Hell yes.
So I've
and
got
that's why we play these games.
I've got two now. Now you made me have. I have two stories now to tell. They're short. One of them is shorter than the other. But real quick, David, we're talking about all the time. My brother potentially coming out with a podcast soon. They're still trying to figure out the name. Him and Hod. You remember Hod, Rob?
How can I forget Hod?
You cannot fucking forget Hod. He's literally a librarian. Did you know that?
Literally.
He's literally a fucking PhD librarian. So he used to love the Deathwing, right? Like that was his shit. And he used to always come up with these armies, like, let me get 2 land raiders, a couple land speeders with some land speeder typhoons and all this shit. And one thing he always tell me is like, I just can't play the land speeders. I was like, yeah, I know. And he'd be like, yeah, man, like and I was like, do you know why though? And he was like, because it makes all the decisions for my opponents. He's like, if they have any weapon, strength 4 to strength 8, they just shoot the land speeders. So my land speeders never could do anything. Because the only other thing I present them in their army is something they can't interact with, the land raiders. So it doesn't play to my tactics as much as on paper. It's like, I've got these like Typhoon missile launchers. I'm gonna move around. He's like, literally, they get focus fired on, and everyone just ignores the thing they can't interact with. And I used to be like, wouldn't it be awesome if they just could, if you could just take a version of land raider that was armor like 13 or 12, like, and now they could interact with land raiders, so maybe they would. And a lot of times, remember I used to talk about this, Juice, that I didn't make my super friends invisible because when you make a unit invisible, people don't interact with it. And the whole point of a Death Star is to take all the shots so that my 2 rhinos and 20 tactical marines win the game.
Yeah. Don't make the decision for your opponent. That is literally the best phrase ever when it comes to building a list and archetypes and stuff.
And so they're just saying, hey, if there's a chance for anyone to hurt anyone, like now everyone's tactics are their own. That's amazing, right? That's literally phenomenal.
So kind of putting it all on the same page, so to speak. They make the illusion, if we talked about it already, we might have beat it to death, but who knows? That there's no differentiation between monsters and vehicles. So there's a standard system, comparing a Carnifex to a Dreadnought, which I'm sure we have a lot to say about that, and we've said a lot to say about it. Large monsters also have a lot more wounds now, which we have already saw with the Dreadnought stat line. Now, who knows what some of the stuff from Forge World or some of the even bigger things like, Fey Weaver, Bloodthirsters, whatever, are going to be. There's also no super heavy rules as such. With stats going above 10, the system is now an increasing scale, which means models that previously fell just shy of super heavy status, like Gorkanaut, for example, can now punch at their appropriate weight and become much more survivable. So some of those buster models out there.
That makes me happy as a motherfucker. Like, think about Killicans.
Mm-hmm.
Killicans, if a Killican, because they're only like armor 10 fake ass dreadnoughts, if a Killican was toughness 5 and 4 wounds with a 3-up or a 4-up save, fuck yeah.
Dog, and you have squad like, yes.
3 of them in a unit, 12 wounds.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I reiterate one more time. Orcs, Nid players, get pumped. Get your models, start dusting them off, start getting ready, start getting some highlight paints, start getting some, it doesn't matter, just start buying models again, because these 2 armies, I think, are going to take the biggest and quickest leap. Now, there might be other stuff, Dark Angels or, Necrons and all this. Obviously, everybody's going to get better and everybody's going to get different, but I believe new rules just came out in all of our hands right here, new codexes. I believe open, blatant, easy things to see, Nids and Orcs are going to be at the top.
Check this out. Gabriel, make Defilers great again. Defiler, toughness 7, should have more wounds than a Dreadnought because they have more hull points than Dreadnought, right? Toughness 7 Defilers with 10 or 12 wounds, right? 10 wounds, toughness 7 Defiler with 3-up armor save, and it's multi-leg tear. It's going to move faster than 6 inches.
Absolutely. It'll have some kind of stat line like Age of Sigmar where, 10 to 12 wounds. I'm with that. And then it moves 10 inches. But after 4 wounds, it moves down to like 8 inches. And then it's only got 3 wounds left. Then it moves down to moving only 6 inches, something like that.
Dude, I'm so with the Defiler being good again.
Hey guys, is that something we know? You keep mentioning the diminishing returns that you get as you take wounds. Has that been verified?
Yeah, they mentioned it. And I think the specific example was that you move slower and you might shoot slower. Like you would be snap firing at some point. They mentioned that
especially for the big things, because we need a vehicle damage chart to be ported over. So, when you fuck a vehicle up and it's stunned or shaken or whatever, now you're just saying like big units are going to have their own individual war scroll, quote unquote. And it's going to say at 10 wounds, these are your stats. And then at 5 wounds, you lose a couple of things from your stats. Then it may be this wounds, you lose a few more things. That is a very Age of Sigmar that's already exists in Age of Sigmar. And they've already said that that's going to be in 40K.
Gotcha. Yeah, to me that seems like a negative, but you guys are better versed on that. I wouldn't want a whole bunch of units to keep track of during the game of, these don't perform like they used to. I get the tactics.
Well, it's just wounds. Like all you need is a wound counter. So you're just, it's the same thing we've already been doing. You have a dice on the model and you're like, I'm at 4 wounds. You just, when you pull out your war scroll, instead of your volumes upon volumes of text, you're like, oh, I have a rhino. I'm going to move this rhino. Oh, it's taking 4 wounds. I'm going to move it 4 inches. You're like that.
No, I get it. I'm just a fan of, full capacity till removed kind of mentality.
And that is a definite, I've been quoted for years now saying the offensive output of my flying hive tyrant with 1 wound or 4 is no different.
Yeah.
How good is my Optimus Trigon Prime in close combat when he has his full 6 wounds or he's on his last? I kill the same amount of Marines. So I've always loved that element. But I'm a glass half full kind of guy. So I know that if there's a tiered effect of the healthier you are, the more damage you're going to be able to do, AKA that means you're going to be more badass than you were even before. So I like to ride that high of like, oh my God.
I think it actually plays to Jason's point earlier. Jason talked about like the narrative of like the one-shot sniper rifle, take out let's say you look at the cards. You say, okay, I've got this unit and he's got these units. This is the last one of the game. I got to make this play. All I've got to do to win this objective is do 2 wounds to this Trigon. I don't got to kill it. I got to do 2 wounds to this Trigon in the activation phase so that he only has 2 attacks now because I put him in his next tier of damage. So now with 2 attacks, he cannot finish my squad off. Then I can have a survivor, pass a leadership check, hold this objective, win the fucking game. Let's make it happen. There's a check.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you outline it like that, I think that if it exists in that arena and people know and that information is easily gleaned, then yeah, it can become part of the tactical thing, and I think it makes it rich. I just, I wonder if along with that combat effectiveness war scroll kind of mentality, if we'll start to see more ability to heal wounds back up so that you can bring combat effectiveness back to vehicles, larger units, so that you don't just feel down and out when that lucky roll happens to you. Can I change my tactics to get this dude back to the higher tier?
Absolutely. And again, to show one more example, and for the people, before I even say this, to caveat something else, for everybody who's saying they're numbing down 40K and it's going to be numbed down, it's not going to be as competitive. We literally, it's more unified and easier rules for us to digest, but the tacticalness is still there. For example, of what Kenny just said, let's say it's turn 5. We look up, it's a tournament. There's 17 minutes on the clock. I know that we agree there's 1 or 2 turns left, whatever the case may be. And I'm like, well, I'm at top of turn. You are literally 15 inches away from an objective. I know that if I bang you down a couple more wounds, you go from moving from 10 inches to 8 inches. I don't even, again, as Kenny said, I don't care to kill you. You have moved yourself too far away from that objective. I can slow you down. We've never had that ability before.
No, I think it's great. We talk about it a lot in other game systems where you don't necessarily have to focus on killing to win the game, which is totally outlandish for war games in some cases. But I know guys that play in a completely passive kind of role. Their whole goal is to try to play a game without killing a single model of the enemy and still be able to win. And there are games that allow you to do that. I don't want to see 40K become that because it's grim, dark, only war. I want to see death and destruction. But I think that what Juice just hit on is something that then flavors up the tactics that are available to you on the table, so that should you happen to lose what you walked in with as your most important unit, your most killy unit maybe got removed early or in a great combat and towards the end of the game, it doesn't take you out. You're never down and out 100%. I can still take that guy like we talked about, and I can't kill that thing, But now you sold me. All right, that easy. Yeah, you
Great
sold me.
point.
Because I don't have to kill to win, so I don't have to worry about my killie unit. You know, I do want to worry about it, but I have things available to me as the game progresses, so I can still have a chance to win and defend against a loss as much as possible.
Rob, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think GW said straight up, shit's gonna die, right?
Oh yeah, they said it's gonna die. It's gonna die in drove. Die quickly with powerful weapons, dishing out multiple damage in each hit. But you still need to shoot the right gun at the right thing. So there's going to be more engagement. That's what I've always said. Every army I've ever designed in Warhammer 40K, win or lose, because I do what I do. I play for the love. But every army I've ever designed is designed to engage. And Juice and I have been playing a long time. He's seen me do some weird shit with some weird lists, and it's always about engagement. Win or lose, I want to engage, and I've always felt that that's the most cool way to play war games. And it's really awesome to hear GW basically say that, like, shit's gonna fucking die. Mm-hmm. Shit's gonna get real, and it's in all I needed to be a little bit more successful in my GW, in my 40K life, was there'd be a little bit more balance. Now, I'm not saying balance this motherfucker, because I don't care about that, but a slightly more balance in phases means that, like, my favorite way of playing, which is to engage, might net me more success. Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
I love what Robbie B just read there, a direct quote from GW saying that stuff will die in droves, and but it's about target priority with making sure you shoot the right weapons at the right targets. For the love of God, that is GW saying some of your gripes, some of your gripes that you might have as a 40K community, saying this isn't fair, this isn't this. They might be saying the weapons are at your disposal. Use them wisely.
Why are you shooting las cannons at a land raider? Or las guns?
You see Nova Star, the legend himself, is checking in.
I did see that.
I don't know about Juice. I kind of just don't like Juice.
Yeah. Nova Star, the original greatest troll of all time, who's come back around. Love you, homie. He says, let's see the return of the Rhino Rush. I believe that's real. I believe that if rhinos are 6+ wounds, toughness 6, 3-up armor save, and that if we can take a look at the Age of Sigmar transport rules, and we can say, hey, that's probably what we're going to get in 8th edition 40K, where you can get out on a fucking assault. I immediately am going to play a Death Guard army with 9 rhinos in it, full of fucking Plague Marines, and I'm going to come across the table every game and just get in your grill.
Absolutely. Yo, Nova Star, you going to ATC? If you are, we need to videotape us shotgunning a beer together.
He actually just asked if we were going to the ATC.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Sure, he can make. I don't think I can go because I think that's July, right?
Yeah, July.
ATC guys, if you don't know, it's the American Team Championships. That's a Dice Head sponsored in Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing. It's fucking fabulous. There's usually what did they have last year? How many teams?
1 million.
1 million 5-man teams. It's one of the coolest events ever. It's probably in an unfortunate time of the year this year for some of us, but I'm so sure that some people are going to be there repping for the Long War. If you got, definitely make it out if you want to fucking get white girl wasted.
Yo, you ready for this? This is a release. Kelsey Haley, the best 40K player in the history of ever. Austin Yo Dog, and yours truly are teaming up together with Max Dubois and the venerable Mark Parker.
Oh Lord, that's quite the.
Wait, did you say you know Marcus Parkas?
I have shook his hand once.
Word.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna be part of this. It's gonna be great. Can't wait. So let's talk about some profiles, because that seems to be, since we keep talking about damage output and what stuff can do, let's talk about the units themselves. They put out some example when we talked about the Dreadnought, of course, but Tactical Squad, Gilliman himself, Terminator Squad. It looks like for the most part they've switched the initiative stat line / got rid of it / used it to determine a movement characteristic individual for each particular unit, where you've got like the Space Marine, the Dreadnoughts are 6, Gilliman's a movement at 8, Terminators are 5. Obviously, they're bulky, they're a little bit slower. Got it. Makes sense. Kenny was saying, hey, stuff like humans that have initiative 3, maybe they'll have a 4-inch move, something like that, take into account.
I think that they have a flow chart that uses model size and initiative, because it's not just one. I think that it's a great move. Like I think orcs initiative 2, right? Which is what holds them back in close combat. Now that they're saying that if you initiate a charge, you go first, that's awesome. But I think orcs, that initiative will directly play into slow ass movement. But I don't think necessarily Imperial Guard with initiative 3 are going to be as slow as some of these other units because they are lightweight humans who have a forward thinking battle plan. So I think GW, it looks on the surface like, hey, we're just going to flip those stats. But I think there's going to be more thought process and more presentation to it.
I think a lot of it has to do, and I'm making dotting the lines, crossing the T's together in my mind with D&D, dexterity-based games, where that is literally a stat line that affects anything to do with how fast you are in reacting, moving, in combat. It doesn't matter, right? So I love the fact that they are looking at all that stat lines and saying, well, initiative-based is dexterity-based. That is where the mother of all our movements are going to come from. So yes, I absolutely love that. So you know what that means? Anybody now in 7th edition, because that's what we're still in, anybody who has a high dexterity, high initiative, you can best believe that your ass is going to be moving faster than dreadnoughts, than orcs.
6 inches is no longer going to be the baseline. It's, straight up.
Which we saw in Age of Sigmar, which was pretty cool. Obviously, we're going to draw some parallels from that. The weapon skill and ballistic skill characteristics are no longer math off of 7. It's just straight up 3 up or 2 up or 4 up or whatever. And I'm sure there'll be some sort of modifier characteristic, unveiled at some point that we see. But for a baseline, these are looking good. Everything seems to have a little bit more wounds. Like the Termies have 2 wounds. Guilliman has 9. We talked about Dreadnoughts, toughness 7, 8 wounds. So, in theory, that seems doable. You shoot a last cannon at a Dreadnought. It has a 3-up save. It's going to be -3. We already talked about this. So it'll do D6 damage. You get a 6-up. Good luck. But, we don't know rules for cover. We don't know rules for, intervening terrain. We don't know if these things have some sort of save themselves, any sort of piece of warrior. We don't know. There could be psychic powers that affect these things. But as a baseline, 1 for 1, these seem pretty decent so far. It seems like everything has a chance. And I think it works for the most part. And it's cool to see. They also alluded to, did you hear the thing they were saying about how people were like, how are Death Stars going to work? And they're basically kind of getting a little salty about Death Stars in general. They're like, that's people, gaming the system. I was just kind of thinking to myself, I was like, well, we are gamers. That's kind of our thing.
Literally all day, every day, I game everything.
Yeah.
I've got a notepad over here of like frame data on Diablo 2 because I've been playing Diablo 2 again. Like literally, I'm like, 25 frames per second. This is this many frames. What's the break point? Like that's what we do. Like
yep.
Love it.
It's like competitive couponing. So they were saying something about characters working like the keyword system. They didn't necessarily say characters can join units, but they said their abilities will affect units based on their keywords, which could be an allusion to, the command benefit type system that's in Age of Sigmar, I feel like. So there's a lot more to come, but I don't know, like I said at the start of the show, I don't know if it's 6 weeks worth of content to put out. Maybe it is. Maybe that's their big ramp up, but I'm just not feeling in my bones that that's the case.
Is competitive couponing a thing?
Oh, extreme couponing.
If we got into it, it would be.
Yeah. I'd be like, yo, how many
marble duffel bags I had?
Yeah. Oh, can you imagine walking to a GW store with like coupons? Gotta have coops. Give me those battle forces. But
I've got 6,000 marble miles. Give me that fucking devil. Give me that canoe.
6,000 Marlboro.
The Marlboro glider.
Yep. Like believe that.
Yeah, it's all that stuff there. So that's the basics of the the previews that they've showed off. Obviously, there's going to be more by the time this comes out. There'll already be probably another article up. talking about new previews. I think the movements phase is going to be on Thursday, so that'll be interesting to see how those mechanics are going to work.
To comment on the title of our show, I've got 99 problems and 8th ain't one. Fact. I have 99 problems, and I guarantee this edition is not one of them. The only problem I'm going to have is how am I going to take enough time off at work so I can learn how to play a new game system? Oh yeah, I got it. I'm just going to take some time off work so I can play games. Not a problem.
True story, man. And I am so pumped. We actually we're in the Beats lab. Robbie B and I were talking. I was like, man, I've got all these cool things in the works. I've got my tripartite lance and the formation out of the Fall Acadia and all this stuff, these builds, oh man, I'm going to have literally 10 to 12 different librarians painted up in Ultramarines colors and White Scars colors. So I can make all the conclave combinations I want, and just plug and play wherever. And it's like, wait a second. I need to put all this shit on hold because there isn't any more libraries conclaves. There isn't any more tripartite lances. No more. So I am pumped to see.
Well, let me ask you this question though, Juice. So of all the things you do in a day, 40K related, that get you high, what gets you the highest? New challenges and new list options? Or I've got everything figured out. Where do I go from here?
No, absolutely. I want you to know why I made it to the point of, okay, well, it looks like I'm going to be getting all these librarians, all this, because I was so stagnant on everything else. I had to come up with ideas. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm at the point now where I already own all the models I want. So let's go in and refine and retool. I am so pumped right now to get back to the drawing board, to spend all the time in the Beats lab, to get the option to play with all the models that I've wanted to play with this whole time, but I had to play Warcon to be competitive. Like, again, we all get out of the hobby what we want out of it. When I go to an event, I want to do well and I want to, place. That's what I wanted this past year. So what I do, I played Warcon. I got really good with it, and it is a very challenging army. Guess what isn't challenging? Me bringing and playing for the love with my nids and just being stubborn and showing up to the table and just picking my models up. That's not challenging me because all I got to do is just pick my models up.
It's challenging your patience.
Yeah, that's all it's doing, right? Like it's challenging me to not rage quit. So like I wanted to, if I spend the money to fly and drive and hang out for a week at Adepticon, I want to play competitive. So I was able to get that, but I couldn't get it with my love. And I know for a fact that 8th edition is right here. It's on. We are knocking at its door. And I think, Kenny, you said it best. And I want to get it tattooed on my body now. It's like, I think 8th edition is going to be the rebirth of play what you're known for.
Yeah, army identity, like
army identity. That's
loyalty, like race loyalty. Like we used to be like, I'm chaos. That's what I do. Like I'm Space Wolves. That's what I do. That was such a fun time. Was like, yo, no matter what, I'm gonna play chaos because it doesn't matter what the edition was. Like I can be successful with that. I'm like, like now you just can't do that. Like what Juice was saying. So if they can bring us back to a time where you can come back to the loyalty of the armies you identified with and the narratives that got you into the hobby, that's a huge win. And I think that by the limited amount of evidence that they have dropped on our table and a little bit of CSI action, I feel like that's exactly the direction that they're taking.
Sounds like it, and I couldn't be more. I'm actually getting excited for GW games again because of this purported change and the possibilities that bring with it. Because again, I enjoy building lists, but not from a sense of what do I have to put in here? Because again, I feel like if my strategy is dictated by the meta and by my opponent, then I'm not as flexible in picking those rule of cool models that I want. I'm not always saying that, the models I love are going to do me any good, but at least I want a chance to do that and to kind of build my list around this would be really cool and themey, but I still have a chance, because like at the Long War doubles, right? Part of the judging was how fluffy is this army versus how competitive was this army. And it leaned towards favoring those people that the army was more fluffy. So now let's reward them, GW, with a game system and a set of rules that then also bolsters the people that want to do that. That doesn't have to be imbalanced towards people that go fluffy. It just has to be leveled playing field. If I want to make a full-on Marine group that has absolutely no friends of the family joining in, it's all, Smurfs, and I want to play all Smurfs and throw them in there, all orcs, and I want to do, bad moons, and I want to do it real fluffy and crazy vehicles and nonsense going on for my WA and put it on the table. I shouldn't feel, hamstrung from the get-go. And that's the key, because they sell more models when no model is bad. Guaranteed. You can't even argue the point.
It's beyond contestation.
I agree. So I think we got a lot to look forward for. I personally am looking forward to all of the YouTube videos of people burning their armies and all of the great deals on armies on eBay. But obviously there's going to be people that overreact, unfortunately, and that's just the way it is. But now's a great time to stock up on miniatures, to hobby on your miniatures that you have, to get them ready. I don't think that they're going to get rid of all these formations and all the cool ways, the rule cool ways to play your armies. They just might not work the same way, but I think the composition or compilation of those particular lists or those particular play styles are going to stay true. So I think they're going to take great pains to do all that personally. So I'm stoked. I'm ready to go. Is it time? When will them be down?
Time to begin getting stoked.
It's time to get stoked.
I'm stoked.
Yep, I'm stoked. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think we've covered it all. Well, everything there is to cover.
We've literally covered it all. This is
all
it. It's the final episode of the podcast, guys.
That's it. We didn't even make it to 100. Dang it.
Didn't even make it to 100. But the 100 is on the horizon, all seriousness. Well, we're 2-3 more episodes. We will try to bring you guys the greatest of the trolls episode that we're trying to promise you guys. We'll have Rob with his smoking jacket on and his pipe, and he'll pull out his journal of all the greatest quotes of all the greatest trolls directed for us. All time. And don't forget, San Diego this weekend, Broadside Bash, potentially the last major event in this edition.
Delaware is the week after, but yeah.
Or Delaware is the week after. There you go. Got 2.
But then that's it, I think.
That's it.
It sure is. All right. Well, I think that's it for this one, y'all. Thanks for listening. Make sure you head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, like all that fresh new 8th edition goodness and, speculatory goodness and exclusive content. Make sure to become a veteran of the Long War today.